reality check doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like a reality check could be a great thing. It could be something that like you wake up one day and it's like, oh my God, I finally understand this. Like you finally get to live in a new perspective of understanding. It's like, wow, that's fucking awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the After Hours. And I had something in the shop today, and it's happened multiple times like in the last few weeks for some of my people, and it was a hard reality for me to learn at the time, but having like a reality check, like actually having a true reality check where your logic matches your emotion. They finally become in sync where you understand what it is you're trying to do mixed with the action of trying to do it. And I think sometimes like we don't want a reality check, like life is good, so it has to stay the way it is. But, with new responsibilities in life and how life develops, like eventually like our own perceptions get checked. Structure is a big thing. And as we get through life, if you're not creating a complete one of your own, you're constantly going in and out of other people's structures, having to follow the same type of rules. My first major reality check in life, actually, it's just kind of crazy. Like it happened when I was 5. And I can remember this because it was literally like a life-changing event that I never forgot. I was at like a kindergarten, like thing or whatever the fuck it was, like one of those little jungle gyms that all the little 5-year-olds run around, and I was going across the little bridge, running around, and I'll never forget this because like I could see it out of my eyes today. It's like I remember going down the stairs, and it was only like 2 or 3 stairs. It was a fucking little kids jungle gym, and I put my hand on the railing to like support myself, and it was the first time like I can truly remember breaking a bone. It just completely just snapped my arm. And just by grabbing it and that little bit of weight distribution completely just cracked it. And, that was the first time I could really remember getting injured now that I can think about it. Like I've had injuries before, but I was so young it wasn't as prominent. But, that was a reality check because at that moment, my mind understood that like there's that type of pain in this world. You know what I mean? Like that was my first reality check. But living amongst that understanding, like my next one, like my real next one was probably getting kicked out of college. That was a reality check. Remember getting punched in the mouth, like, and having my fucking nose broken. That was a reality check. And it was every time I was feeling like super confident, but also like arrogant at the same time. It's like something stopped it at some point, Sometimes I think we don't know in our own heads, like what actually is good as we're feeling better. It's kind of like, oh my God, this feels better. Like we should keep doing it. And sometimes you don't know like what it's really disrupting, like on the outside. You know what I mean? Like we have no idea because we're in our own head creating, but like it's actually truly affecting like other people's worlds, So having those types of reality checks were almost like life altering because I had realized something about myself that I was displaying. And I was like, wow, like when you see the other perspective somewhere in life, something that you're doing directly, and then you see it being done, it's like, you either appreciate the actions that you've been doing or you're like, whoa, that's fucked, or I need to change this. Like you see the outcome of it. So it's like, oh, wow, I got to stop this. You know what I mean? Like you kind of make that choice. But, some people don't. They just keep going with whatever the selfish need is. I don't know. Like I said, I've always been like selfish in certain areas, and other times I'm like really, really giving, depending upon what I understand should be given and should be withheld. But I don't know, like that shit, man, that was a fucking reality check. Like being nice to people, being so good to people that you think deserve a chance, like can just have these little things, and it's like you help them out and they take advantage of it. And it's like, wow, like, if somebody helps me, I'm like super appreciative. Like you've helped me evolve a little bit more in life. Like that's life's gift, is to be so nice and good with people that they teach you the skills that you don't have in life. And other people really abuse that. They try to help you along in certain ways, and it just, doesn't work out. That's a reality check. There's so many, when you're spending all your fucking money doing stupid shit, you're bringing in a whole bunch of money that you never seen before. And it's like you're spending it left and right. And then a couple of years later, you look at your bank account and it's got $2,000 in it, and you still got a car payment. Your credit card's maxed out. It's like, fuck. How did I do that? And it was feeling good at the time, but it had its things that it kind of led to. A reality check. I kind of got to a point where like I wanted to stay away from reality checks, so I'd like stop taking risks at some points. But then I started feeling like I wasn't living life anymore.
What do you, what do you think is the biggest reality check for most people?
The biggest reality check for most people. I think the biggest reality check for most people is that the world does not revolve around them. Like we revolve around ourselves, but we also are a part of a way bigger. We're part of something so big. Like I can't even explain what it is because that's how big it is. Like we're so small. And I think we need to understand how small we are to know like the great things that we do as people. Like sometimes, when they say like, oh, I want to change the world, it's like, you got to change the world in front of you first. You know what I mean? Before you have aspirations to change the whole world, So I just think like when people think that they're in their head so much, it's like, there's a whole nother world that like, if you work together with it, like it will prosper with you. I see too many people that kind of have this whole, like they're out for themselves. And it's like, if you could find, a way to be selfless sometimes and like try to understand the situation, like life can be very vast with other people. It's definitely something I've done over the years. Like I have amazing relationships with people. I'll give before I receive, like I don't care. To me, it's like I can understand that there is more to build than like doing this or doing that. Like, sometimes a connection is the greatest thing in life. And when you're outside of yourself for a chance, like, and you're looking at yourself like you're a sim, it's like, what good are you doing for your community? Like I think people are so inside of themselves, like they really don't have anything they do outside of their own enjoyment. I think that's a reality that when people hit it, they understand whether or not they're selfish or not, or they're just, selfless. I've gotten to these points where it's like, I've given away so much, like, I don't care. Like, I've been able to give things away. Some people hold on to them so hard, like, it's what defines them. And it's like, I think if you can be defined by just your own character, it's like, that's the win. And I think that's a reality check for a lot of people. Like, the character inside themselves aren't really who they are. And it took me a long time to understand really who I was. And that's when I think life got good. When I knew, like, I didn't like certain things or, I was really into this thing, I was able to say no. I was able to finally, like, be myself, like, and not feel like, I had to appease everybody in my fucking life. I think that's everybody's thing. Like, I've talked to enough people to where I don't really know anybody that lives outside the same understanding. Everybody has problems. Everybody has these things going on. It doesn't matter what type of people, like you're looking at, celebrities, broke people, like people in the hills, people, in the gardens, like everybody amongst this earth, like we're all human beings. And it's like, think about you are the next person just in its own evolution. And that algorithm in your head is so unique to you that that's everybody else's experience, in their own view. I think you kind of got to be aware of that that's physically around you. That's what changes your life when you understand each new one. Like you get close with somebody, you understand them, whether it's, you know them for really tight or you don't know them a lot. You kind of just, you take that risk in trying to understand somebody if, you respect like who they are. That reality check, when that hit me was, shit, that was tough. But then once I kind of accepted that, like, so many people are just like me, like, I'm not the only one having these problems. Like, there's such a bigger mindset to, like, the casual common thought because, like, we make these thoughts in our head so complex that it's like, no, they're actually really simple. Like, we all have, like, what we think is the craziest thing in the world. But it's like, yo, dude, me too. And sometimes I think it's getting past the Me Too motion that, like, people need to learn. Like, we need to compare to understand how we can make it better and not compare just to see which one was worse. I think, like, working in a barbershop for a long time kind of scarred me in a way to where all I heard was, how people were prideful of struggle. And I'm like, I can respect how they got through, like, a lot of certain things. But at certain points, like, it was kind of tough to see that where, like, that was the pride. And I had actually thought about, like, how much I was struggling, how much I actually focused on the struggle and how much that wasn't actually getting me forward. I was focusing on what put me in this position as opposed to what was going to get me to the next position. And that mindset was such a crazy switch. Again, like another crazy reality check. You know, I'm not really like scared of them anymore. You know, I kind of like them. I kind of like being able to like kind of cross somebody's path and just go, yo, man, what's up? Like, what's in your fucking head? You're like, what are you thinking? Because to what degree are they thinking the exact same fucking thing? You know what I mean? He wakes up, he takes a shit, he puts his fucking pants on. You know what I mean? He fucking throws his shirt on, he fucking washes his face, he fucking gets into his car. It's like, isn't it the same thing you do too? You know what I mean? Like we're doing the same shit everybody's doing. Everybody thinks it's so fucking glorified. It's like, nah, dude, we're fucking people. Like we're doing the same shit. You know, it's just how cool do you do your shit? You know, I feel like that's like the grand life comparison. I think when you can stop comparing, it makes life that much better. You know, like when you're focused on like your own creation, like that's what really makes it like an important journey. But you got to know what that is. Even if you're scared to see what it is, like, got to take a leap at some point. You know, it's the most beautiful feeling in the world. Scary, but beautiful. You have such a different like appreciation for things. You know, like I was talking about with the Post Malone concert. It takes 100 people to run that show. And it's like, if you asked me to do 100 team parlay to where 100 things needed to go right for me to hit my bet, I wouldn't make that bet. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just the logic of teamwork, you know, going down to that. But reality checks. Wonder what the next one's going to be. You know what I mean? Like, what's the next one going to be? Is it going to be like something outrageous, something small? Like, you know, I think like when you're running away from a reality check, like you can find some comfort. I definitely think there's time where like you got to like sit down and like take a chill pill for a second from learning life. I think it'll fucking drive you crazy if you keep trying to live and learn and live and learn. Like, you got to give it a chance to digest at some point. Because like the times I wasn't digesting my shit, I was like running on a fucking fume every day. Almost like it's an addiction to learn life. And it's like, fuck me, that addiction to learning life and doing all that, yo, that's dangerous. Because then it's, who do you know that can make that journey like that unique? You know what I mean? Like that shit gets crazy. And having a whole bunch of clients and all these people from the barbershop, like I lived so many different fucking circles and had such a blast with everybody that I was like, oh my God, my fucking head's blown. I needed a fucking 6-month recovery just to download like one of my tours. You know, like I did like a networking tour with people where it's like, oh my God, we're partying with these people for this much time. And it was like, whoa, that was fucking crazy. Like these people are nuts. They're awesome people. Like they got their own lives over here, but it's like, we came together for this 6 months and it was fucking nuts. It was fucking sick. You know, again, reality check, like things like that can happen, you know, if you're living a certain way, you know, like, and I think that's like sometimes a reality check doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like a reality check could be a great thing. It could be something that like you wake up one day and it's like, oh my God, I finally understand this. Like you finally get to live in a new perspective of understanding. It's like, wow, that's fucking awesome. It's like, it clicked on a Tuesday at 10 p.m. while I was taking a shit, you know, I dropped my phone. And when I dropped my phone, I was like, oh, drop this. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fucking civilization was, but like I was sitting there and I was like, that just happened. Did I have an epiphany like right there? I was like, holy shit. Again, taking a shit, you can get a reality check. I'll pout on that one.